CLRC chairman says citizens want electoral system reformed. Stakeholders meeting in Leh to review national youth policy. And locals in Western Highlands urged to register land.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening, it's Monday and this is the news on your number one to watch. Thanks for joining us. The chairman of the Constitutional Law Reform Commission says their nationwide public consultation has revealed that many Papua New Guineans want the electoral system reformed. Chairman and Hanginofi MP Robert Atiafa says many people have demanded changes to laws governing electoral rolls, the eligibility of candidates and the counting process.
These are the kind of consultations that are happening all over the country. The Commission has been bringing together a cross-section of the community, from government officers to voters who participated in the 2017 elections. Generally, many people feel dissatisfied with the electoral process in 2017. It started with irregularities in the electoral rolls, which weren't fixed by the time people went to the polls. And then there were instances of questionable practices by election officials, allegations of bribery and a host of other problems. The Commission's consultations have also given those concerned some structure. They now know that nearly everyone they've spoken to want the system reviewed and changed before election 2022.
But from that, come up one plenty other issue related, it's WTOR. Only come out like him. For example, like him was Prime Minister, Office for the Prime Minister managed continuously. And we no can have him through 2 term or 3 term. All member who sat the go to Parliament. And we go to Christmas one kind of some public 70 go Christmas will only go some 70 or no can register.
According to both written and verbal submissions presented to the Commission, many people are demanding a better system for the electoral roll registration. Many suggestions lean towards electronic methods of registration and voting. Voters have also called for older, more experienced candidates with proven track records in the public service, the community or the private sector.
All I can say is good money sanap, educated money sanap. Christmas will all, can is now I'm 25. All I can. Christmas must go on top more 30, 35, or 40.
The Commission has been given until the end of the year to prepare a report to table in Parliament. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Leh.
Various stakeholders are meeting in Leh to review Papua New Guinea's youth policy and chart a new path for the next decade. The regional consultations aim to gain a better understanding of youth issues and strengthen partnerships.
After these consultation meetings, the Department of Community Development and other stakeholders hope to present a new thinking to government. For decades, generations of young people have been told that they need to get an education and get a job. It's an idea that works in countries that have a large economic base. It hasn't really worked in Papua New Guinea. Minister for Community Development Soroi Eoe says he hopes the ideas presented here will pave way for a new 10-year youth policy.
If you don't have an economic base to engage these people in, then you're losing the battle.
In Papua New Guinea, the youth are one of the most underrepresented groups. Yet 6 out of every 10 people are under the age of 25. That's more than 6 million people. They're also underrepresented in business and in government. Last year, many young people over the age of 18 didn't get to vote in the 2017 elections because their names were not on the electoral rolls. In the prisons, 80% of those convicted are under the age of 25.
There's something wrong somewhere. That's when I plan all the young people and we'll end up in prison. That's how I see it.
Today, many of the presenters over the age of 30 talked about youth representation and how the informal economy needed to be harnessed for the benefit of the youth. Many of those programs still remain underfunded and will remain so if a policy direction remains uncertain. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Leh.
20 PNG Defence Force personnel from the Northern Region Command began a 5-day leadership course today at Igam Barracks in Lae. It is the first of 2 courses to be conducted this year using PNG's Kumul Leadership Framework. The course is facilitated by the PNGDF Directorate of Leadership Development with 2 mentors from the New Zealand Army.
The PNGDF will be using its own leadership model, Kumul Leadership Framework, for the first time in this course. In past years, the PNG Defence Force had sent their officers overseas to undertake such leadership courses. This week, 20 PNGDF officers from Lae, Wewak and Manus will be undertaking this 5 days bottom-top leadership course using the Kumul Leadership Framework.
It was based on the New Zealand model, but it's based on our own values and our own ways of doing things. So this is the second course to be conducted. The first one was the top-down approach for the commanding officers and the RSMs. So we come down from the top and we come up from the bottom up for the lance corporals and the lieutenants.
The framework is a group of behavior statements that forms the leadership development in the PNG Defence Force. This course is based on the military leadership where the officer in command has to influence the officers by providing the purpose, direction and motivation during an operation to accomplish its mission. The area commander said in PNGDF, leadership development is the commander's priority.
From Lance Corporal all the way up to the Brigadier General, the commander's rank, we are leaders. So now gives the importance of teaching them from our own model so that they can then grasp and become good leaders in the future.
This bottom-top leadership course that began today saw the PNGDF officers from the Northern Unit attend in civilian clothes. This is to help them communicate freely among themselves and share ideas irrespective of their ranks. The course will end on Friday this week. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Locals in Western Highlands Province are urged to allow the Lands Department to survey their customary land and register them. Deputy Governor Michael Mai says this does not mean that the government will take over customary land, but is to allow locals to have clear land titles. He said this today at the presentation of fully kitted survey equipment to the Provincial Lands Division.
These are fully kitted survey equipment worth 150,000 kina presented by the Western Highlands Provincial Government to the Provincial Lands Department. The equipment will release some pressure from the Provincial Lands Department to survey and register lands.
We are trying to mobilize all our land so that we will equip our people. They must be ready, they must have their titles, they must be owners of their land.
The provincial government have recently been building a lot of high schools in the province on lands given free by landowners. However, they do not want to experience land disputes of land being owned by 2 or more parties. The Provincial Lands Department can now do surveys and register those portions of land so that landowners can benefit from services. Customary landowners can also request the Provincial Lands Office to survey their land and register them so that when development comes, the landowners will have no problem in getting land titles. The provincial government also urged Western Highlanders to register incorporated land groups or ILGs and invite developers to develop their land.
Thing awesome, everyone plan. I order equipment. They got built along GPS system. Now, this equipment maybe I can use them long ground, or you can use them on sky. Not two, maybe I can only use them on salt water.
Deputy Administrator Stanley Mipe said the provincial government has plans for its people to settle properly by surveying and giving out clear land titles to rightful owners. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The Enga provincial government is focusing on improving health standards in the province. Governor Sir Peter Ipatas said Enga will soon become a health hub of Papua New Guinea once health indicators are improved. Sir Ipatas and the Australian High Commissioner to PNG, Bruce Davis, recently visited Enga to see the progress of new and current hospitals there.
The first hospital that the delegates visited was the 144 million kina new Wabek Hospital, which is in its first phase of construction. The Australian High Commissioner under the PNG-Australian Partnership donated 7 million kina towards the purchasing of hospital equipment. The delegates later visited Payam Hospital in the Porgera district. The hospital was closed several years back due to internal problems with the former management, the Porgera Development Authority. The hospital could no longer function and was closed due to no funding.
Service delivery in the Porgera Valley became non-existent, and one of the services that has been affected is the Payam Hospital.
The good news is that Payam Hospital will be reopened next month for the people of Porgera Valley to receive proper health care services. The provincial government, National Health Department and the Mineral Resource Authority intervened and transferred the hospital to the Enga provincial government. The Enga provincial government is committing to improve the hospital to level 4 by working closely with the National Department of Health.
It is our commitment as a provincial government to see that this hospital is reopened to a level 4 hospital.
The delegation then visited Kompiam District Hospital. Kompiam Hospital is run by the Baptist Union Health Services. An Australian doctor, David Mills, has been in Kompiam for 18 years and has been delivering positive impact to the development of the hospital as well as providing health services. Governor Ipatas had invited the Australian High Commissioner to visit Kompiam Hospital to see first-hand development done by another Australian,
Mr. Bruce Davis, to see what kind of a positive impact an Australian citizen was doing in a remote district.
The delegates also visited SAC Community Health Workers Training College to see and know how they can best improve the training college. Fasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
This is National EMTV News. Stay tuned. We have more of today's other stories when we come back. Welcome back. RD Tuna Fishing Limited has announced that its new wharf is a PNG Customs controlled wharf. The declaration opens the door for RD Fishing and Canneries vessels to go directly to Vidar for clearance by PNG Customs and not to Midang Town as before. Vice President and General Manager of RD Fishing, Arnel Gunato, said this new development will open up new opportunities and benefits for nearby communities, including the landowners.
The commissioning and declaration of RD Fishing Wharf as PNG Customs controlled wharf is expected to create more job opportunities for locals. The wharf is situated at Vidar along the North Coast Road of Madang. Currently, the RD Fishing and RD Canneries employ at least 3,000 nationals with spin-off benefits given to landowners, including security and catering services,
making them more efficient in their operations. In due time, this will eventually open more opportunities to our nearby communities.
RD Tuna is the only tuna fishing company operating out of Madang. The company's vessels will now go directly to Vidar, where it has its own compound to process the fresh fish. The compound has its own storage facilities, waste, ice-making facilities, among others.
Declaration of our Vidar port as a custom-controlled wharf. This is a very vital to us RD Fishing and RD Tuna, the two main companies of RD PNG Group.
Meanwhile, Acting PNG Customs Commissioner Mark Rami thanked RD for its continuing investment in the country, especially for Madang.
We are, on behalf of PNG Customs Service, I want to congratulate RD Tuna for your investment your confidence in government. This is job welcome.
Mathalubis, National EMTV News, Madang.
The East New Britain provincial government intends to build a 5-megawatt solar power plant. East New Britain Governor Nakikus Konga says the alternative power source will supplement the Warangoi hydro power station as it will undergo maintenance. Konga says the solar power is one of the impact projects in the province that will give confidence to businesses to continue investing in the province.
The initiative to start the 5-megawatt solar power plant isn't new. Over the past 6 years, the East New Britain provincial government has been carrying out feasibility studies to establish the alternative power source.
Direct investment.
The East New Britain Governor Nakekus Konga, since taking office last year, says he wants to make it work.
And that is why people like Israel invite him, the solar company belongs to Israel, to come and work with us, collaborate with us, because they are the experts in power. Now Israel, the company we have dealt with, they've been here, the engineers have been here with the provincial administration, they've seen sites, they've been here collected information about us, they're very happy to work with us.
The intention to build the power plant followed calls to shut down the Warangoi hydropower station for at least 2 years as it undergoes a major overhaul.
The hydropower station at Warangoi is about 60 years old. It was built by the Germans some 60 years ago. And its live is goodness. For that reason, people like must walk him over how long.
While this happens, the provincial government says it wants to have an alternative power source in place for the province to use. The switch to solar power has been prompted by debilitating power cuts in recent years, caused by high power demand in the province and old and poorly maintained infrastructures. East New Britain, like big cities like Lae and Port Moresby, is slowly seeing an unprecedented growth in businesses, and some business critics suggested that continuous power outages may cause the provincial economy to lose several millions. The East New Britain provincial government doesn't want that to happen, and it says work has already started to have the solar power plant established before the Warangoi power station comes to a halt next year. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Rice farmers in Engoram, East Sepik Province are milling paddy rice with 70% recovery rate. Known as the Sepik organic rice, half of what is milled is packaged and sold while the rest is for consumption. Though it is a small setup, there are 825 rice farmers spread across the Sepik River. Established in 2016, rice is milled from inside this traditionally built house with milling machines brought in from Lae. In 2017, the rice farmers cultivated and planted rice on 84 square kilometers of land, produced 52.7 tons of paddy rice and milled 36.6 tons of white rice. Recently, local farmers from Sepik Organic Rice showcased their products at the APAC Senior Officials Meeting 3 in Port Moresby. The chairman of a Morabe Agriculture Cooperative has issued a strong call for the government to provide more funding to cooperative societies in Papua New Guinea. Ruben Yapi of the Labuta Cocoa Cooperative Society says he is disappointed that the government had no budgetary allocation for cooperatives in the 2018 budget. Over the past 6 years, Morabe cooperatives have been actively expanding their reach. In the last 2 years, cooperatives have been supplying cocoa for chocolate manufacturing in the country. Coffee cooperatives have also been increasing their production with assistance from Fair Trade New Zealand.
In Mobile Province, there's no plantations. The only commodities that are exported are from the farmers, and there are cooperative groups that are bringing those produce into the markets in Lae for export. You look at coffee, cacao, vanilla, fisheries, all these things are coming out of cooperative societies. And how can the government not plan to allow budgets to assist cooperative societies?
This is Monday's news. We'll take a look at stories making headlines overseas after this message. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, water levels in India's state of Kerala are slowly receding in the worst floods there in nearly a century, but the threat is not over. Thousands of people remain trapped or stranded, and the death toll has increased to 391 since the monsoon season began in May. And officials fear there could be an outbreak of disease among the more than 800,000 people staying in shelters.
Rescuers can only reach the most desperate by boat and by air. People left stranded by raging waters by the thousands.
No house is left here. No house is left here. Almost all the houses are flooded.
It's currently
4 feet water has come down in this particular place. And when we get inside, still you cannot walk. You need a boat or something like that.
Emergency workers, among them the Indian Air Force and the National Disaster Response Force, must navigate the washed-out roads to deliver supplies, a hand, any help they can give.
On the day we deployed here, the situation was very horrifying. Almost 10 feet to 6 feet, you can find water everywhere. There was water everywhere, nothing else. But today, if we speak, the water is depleting, the level is coming down and down. But the main work will start now.
The Indian state of Kerala is now a disaster zone. Food is airdropped to those who can't be reached, the injured and traumatized taken to hospitals. Days of deadly landslides and flash floods brought devastation worse than any they've seen before, even here.
The thing is, right now, the flood which we are experiencing right now is horrible. We never had such a chaos situation. Every house is filled in the water.
Hundreds of thousands who have reached shelters are still in need.
The thing is, there's no toilet over here, okay? There's nothing, no sanitation, basic sanitation thing over here. There's no drinking water over here. We have no drinking water. The water issue is the primary, that's also a primary concern.
Every year, millions of tourists visit Kerala, drawn by its rivers, its natural beauty. Its natural disaster has now claimed hundreds of lives.
Indonesia's Lombok Island has been rattled by more big earthquakes, killing at least 12 people. Exactly 2 weeks after a major tremor there claimed 460 lives, a magnitude 6.3 struck the northeast. It was followed by a bigger 6.9 shake sometime later.
Terrified residents fled into the streets, clutching their children and each other, their homes crumbling behind them. As another jolt, this time a relatively shallow 6.3 magnitude quake hit northeastern Lombok. Panic also spreading in villages close to Mount Rinjani. Helpless locals huddling in the street, watching as huge landslides triggered by the quake sent plumes of gritty dust onto homes below. Nerves now stretched right across Lombok. Locals and tourists fleeing to the safety of the streets, preferring to camp out in the open after the horrors of the quake a fortnight ago that claimed nearly 500 lives. Everyone ran out of the hotel, but no one pushed, this man says. A fearful calm also descending over the evacuations of hospitals, homes and airports. More than 350,000 people have fled, some now sheltering in makeshift camps, while those in hard-hit areas are making do till help arrives. And prospects look dire for Lombok's once thriving tourist hotspots, with resorts destroyed and visitors scared away by months of disruption from volcanic eruptions, the threat of tsunami, and now this.
If this island is not open, tourists cannot come to Lombok.
And survival's very much on the minds of those running the school for children traumatised by Indonesia's recent disasters. This song, a safety lesson on earthquake survival.
We prioritise how they can be happy first and feel no fear anymore.
A glimmer of joy in a time of great fear and uncertainty.
There is grim resignation among the people of Idlib, Syria. It is the last rebel-held enclave in the country under government offensive, and to retake the area appears imminent. There are nearly 3 million people there, and for many, there's simply nowhere else to go.
There used to be an ice cream shop on the corner, kids playing in the street. A sense that the violence would not strike here, at least not like this. It's 5 days after multiple airstrikes hit this once quiet neighborhood in Idlib province, killing dozens of people, shattering whatever illusion of safety that may have existed. For 7 years now, Syria's unraveling has been documented. What's the point in all your filming? Ibrahim Naif wants to know. For there is no humanity in this, in the world's muted response to Syria's heartless destruction.
هذا نايف، هذا عمره 3 سنين. هذا قطعة من قلبي هذا. هي لغادة. أو لغادة.
Only one of Ibrahim's 5 children survived. It's just memories now. The family next door, displaced from elsewhere, were all killed, 7 of them. Also killed was a media activist, Ahmed. Ahmed was just 20 years old, a nurse and first responder by training, a role he played in his native Aleppo before the family was forcibly displaced to Idlib as the regime took over. When he saw that the responders weren't there, he threw his camera aside and went to save a little girl, Ahmed's father Mahmoud tells us. But another strike came in, killing them both. His parents seem stoic together, proud but in pain. But later, as his mother shows us Ahmed's clothes, she breaks down. In the room next door, his father shows us his photos. Tears he can't cry in front of his wife. They did everything together. A father-son team documenting their nation's pain, now directly a part of it. The sluggish summer pace of life as we drive through Idlib province seems to belie the looming violence. It's the last remaining main rebel stronghold. Turkey, Russia, and Iran have been negotiating to ostensibly come to some sort of agreement to prevent a total massacre here by the Syrian regime and its Russian backers. Turkey has military observation posts in the province and has called an assault on Idlib a red line. Its border has been closed, and instead, a senior Turkish official says his government is pouring millions of dollars into swelling refugee camps.
Abu Muhammad was just saying that he remembers when there were just a few tents here and the rest of it was just the olive groves. And now you take a look and it just has such an aura of permanence to it all.
The rolling hills a stone's throw from the Turkish border have been transformed into a sea of homes of lost souls from Aleppo, Hama, Ghouta, Daraya, and elsewhere. Idlib's population has doubled in recent years as more Syrians arrived. It's also where, as other parts of the country fell back into government control, the regime relocated residents and rebel fighters. For those here, normal and home have been irreversibly redefined. We can't go back, ever, Mustafa al-Ibadi says. He doesn't trust the Assad regime. And with nowhere left to go, many feel like they're just waiting for their death sentence to be carried out.
Now turning back home, a film about 3 young women living with HIV/AIDS was launched at the National AIDS Council Secretariat in Port Moresby today. Young and Positive is a series of short films about 3 young women living with HIV.
Collectively and individually, they shared their experiences of the diagnosis, treatment, fear of death, pregnancy and parenthood, TB, education, making a future, and the possibility of living a normal life. Kathy Thomas, 22 from Enga province, said the most devastating moment of her life was when she found out she was HIV positive and also pregnant. She thought of killing herself. Her parents hated her, and the only person she could turn to was her grandmother. Despite everything that she went through during her pregnancy, her only concern was her unborn baby.
Me currently weighing 7 months. Now I'm weighing 1.1. And this weight 1.1 was a big challenge of life to me. So 1.1 I mean nothing I'm basta lo and I'm home lo at me come na reach out of some the big challenge of life to me.
Miss Thomas said Anglica PNG has taken good care of her before and after her pregnancy, and she was very thankful. Sister Mary Wapu, a nurse with Anglicare, said that Kathy has been a role model for the clinic and is also taking the lead in the Kisima Giving program.
We have sustained them by giving them 4,000 kina each. That's the program that we launched in April. And we are monitoring the program as well, their projects. So we have given them 4,000 kina each to sustain themselves, but they are we have given them 4 to 5 months to give back the seed capital. So when they give us the seed capital and they get enough money to continue the project, they will still continue the project. But the seed capital that we are giving, they will have to return it back and then give it to the second batch of our beneficiaries to continue to sustain their life.
Kathy Thomas, Esther Joe, and Maria Elvis, the young women featured in the film, were very emotional when they explained the stigma and discriminations they faced. With the necessary support and funding from the United Nations Children's Fund, these young women were documented through the Prevention of Children to Child Transmission and the Young Girls Living with HIV program, under the Papua New Guinea Institute of Medical Research. The PPTCT program was carried out in Port Moresby and Goroka because they had a high burden of HIV patients. The two provinces also had a program for prevention of parent-to-child HIV transmissions in their antenatal clinics. Michelle Steven, National EMTV News.
You're at National EMTV News. Chukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The SP PNG Hunters team have one last match before the finals playoffs. After a slow start to the season, the Hunters have fought their way back into the top 6.
Despite the Hunters' big win over the winner Manly Seagulls yesterday at the Oil Search National Football Stadium, Coach Michael Marum says there's some areas they need to work on before this weekend's clash.
We got work to do again. There's a lot of positives we can take out of today's game as well. So, but yeah, we got one training session before we travel next week, so it's going to be a big turnaround. So. The team leaves on Thursday, so games on Saturday night. So it's just we really need to have a look at those areas and fix up really quickly before we travel out here.
The Hunters take on the Central Queensland Capras in what will be another important match. Depending on their result and outcomes from the different matches played this weekend, the Hunters may finish in the top 4.
We still have one more team fighting to get in. Jets had another big win yesterday, so. So whether we finish 6 next week, we'll be happy with that. So yeah.
They currently sit on 6th spot on 28 points. Northern Pride and Ipswich Jets also have 28 points, but fall behind the Hunters because of points difference. A loss this weekend may see the SP Hunters slip out of the top 6 and miss out on the finals. The Hunters take on the CQ Capras in Australia on Saturday at 6 p.m. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
SP PNG Hunters captain Ase Boas is not in his best form in conversion kicks, but SP PNG Hunters coach Michael Marum is confident he will improve.
This year, I think, pre-season first of all.
There is no cause for concern with SP PNG Hunters coach Michael Marum assuring that captain Ase Boas will improve on his goal kicking. The Hunters captain is not in his best form with the boot, with his current goal conversion rate at 69.8%. Ase kicked 4 from 8 in Sunday's 40 points to 16 win over the winner Manly Seagulls. Not usual of Ase to miss that much in a match, but a cause for concern heading into the final series. But Marum says there is no cause for panic.
It certainly be finals football be different. I've spoken to Ase about his goal kicking. He's been doing a lot of training, but it's just on a game day. That's just one thing he needs to get right for his game. There's a lot of pressure on him as well in trying to talk about finals football and that sort of thing. So I've spoken to him, just focus on his own game and his captaincy in the field and also his goal kicking.
With the crunch of finals football drawing closer, Marum will be keen on ensuring they get all the points they need during the remaining matches. And he wants everything, even 2-point penalty conversions. He didn't give any indication of a second option kicker, but says he has faith in Ase Boas.
I know he'll be doing a lot of goal kicking practice again, and I'll talk to him again. There's no pressure on him. all he needs is just kick the goals in front. He's capable of kicking from the outside too. So yesterday there was a bit windy as well. So different conditions this weekend. Be playing at night. So yeah.
Ferry Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
The Motu Koita Lagatoys will be participating in the Cook Islands biannual rugby league tournament this year. MKRLA announced their 34-man train-on squad over the weekend in Port Moresby. The team was selected from the Southern Confederate trial matches held at the National Football Stadium. The train-on squad will be trimmed down to 25 men and will be coached by former Canberra Raider and Commonwealth player David Wesley. The tournament starts on the 17th of October through to the finals on the 26th. The Calgary Rabia Amateur Basketball Association is a new basketball association formed early this year. Association President Anna Mope says their main concern is to encourage discipline and behavior change in youths through basketball.
The association was registered for the first time with Basketball Federation of Papua New Guinea early this year. The association president said with the Calgary settlement renowned for its lawlessness, the association aims to host games to keep youths away from trouble.
The main concern is the discipline, to mold discipline, attitude, behavior, and the education. That's the main four things that I'm looking at. There's so many children who their attitudes are not at this time. They don't have respect for it.
She said before the association was registered, they hosted school holiday games to keep students safe in the community during the holiday. Mosby South MP Justin Tachenko has sponsored the association with 20,000 kina to host its competition.
He gave us 10,000 last week. We just bought our equipment, the tent, the tables, the hayla, everything, just to run this competition. And then he's going to hand in another 10,000. That's when we're trying to go into the finals.
The association has gone into its proposition matches with 10 teams participating in the competition. 9 of the 10 participating teams come from the Calgary area and 1 team is from Koki. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. The International Training Institute Village Volleyball Championships will see its grand finals coincide with the country's 43rd Independence Days of celebration in September. ITI Marketing Manager Sammy Rose Javilonar says the aim behind the competition was to get youths in Moresby South away from illegal activities.
As part of its community initiative, ITI Using Sport as a Tool for Change has engaged youth in Moresby South to participate in its village volleyball competition. ITI Marketing Manager Semiros Javilona says the tournament is still in its infant stages and the aim behind the event is to keep youths in the electorate busy and away from illegal activities.
Yeah, I think regarding that Independence Weekend, that's coincide with our ITI Village Volleyball, which we are currently ongoing. We started since ITI is located in Moresby South, so we have a village located on the Moresby South area. We have Zone 1, 2, 3, and 4, like in Koki side, Badili, Calgary, Sabama, and Hanwabada. We started the competition right now, and their finals will be in September, which coincide with the Independence Day, and that is our tribute to the Independence Day of this country.
So far, with 8 teams remaining, the competition will see its grand final coincide with the country's 43rd Independence Day in September. The grand final competition will be hosted at the Port Moresby's Aquatic Centre. She encouraged youth in the Moresby South electorate to take part and be part of the event as the country celebrates its 43rd anniversary. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
And now to NRL, the Warriors have missed a golden chance to lock in their playoff spot against the cellar dwellers of Canterbury Bulldogs, going down in the dying minutes to a home team playing out of their skin. After a strong start by the visitors, the Dogs hit back, making the most of their opportunities.
The Warriors started where they left off against the Knights last week as the informed Gerard Beale made the most of some early pressure.
The Bulldogs crack and Beale scores the first try of the game. It had to come for the Warriors with all that ball.
A brain explosion from a goal line dropout, quickly flipping momentum, the Bulldogs hitting right back.
Oh, great ball, reaching out, Adam Elliott does score.
The home side quickly doing it all again.
Oh, Remus Smith, what an effort from the winger, and the Dogs are in front.
Not for long though, as a tit-for-tat battle began.
Papali'i gets the offload away and they're over. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck with the spectacular finish.
The Warriors going into the break with their heads down after leaking 8 points in the final 10 minutes. A different story when they came back. David Fusitua doing what we've got so used to seeing this season.
Fusitua gets there around the outside again and the Warriors strike first.
The match proving to be a seesaw affair.
Morris is interested, bats it down, the Twins combine.
David Fusitua keeping the Warriors right in the hunt.
Fusitua, too easy.
And hunt they did. Peter Hiku dotting down for the Warriors' fifth.
Blair spots the gap this time, tough to stop, keeps it alive, try time.
But just as the Warriors drew level, it was gone again. Lachlan Lewis winning it for the Bulldogs with this monster in the dying minutes.
On his birthday, hangs it up, he's got it! Phenomenal! He's a sensational player, this kid.
A final play falling short for the Kiwi side. Another week of waiting to lock in a playoff spot for the Warriors.
And finally tonight, we all love a true champion. We bask in their glory and we take it quite personally when they fall from grace. Well, sometimes though, the champion rises again and it reminds us a lot of what we lost and so desperately want to see once more.
The eyes of the tiger. The new and improved tiger, that is. Back wowing the golfing world, but still with that infamous fist pump. Woods didn't win the major, but he won back the hearts and mobile phones of all his adoring fans.
Trending? This game's trending.
Nothing like a new trend. Nick Kyrgios, shoeless and clueless.
Okay, I left my tennis shoes in the locker room.
Hope they don't smell. At least he was smiling for a change. Shoes are overrated, really, when you can use your tummy or your head for that matter. Hang on, let's see that again. Hothead? Let us put lettuce in our helmets.
Cabbage actually sits better on your head.
But iceberg keeps you cooler. Mind you, this Georgian won't get hot while he's setting a new world record. 6 Rubik Cubes underwater. 1 minute, 44 seconds. Enough to take your breath away. This, on the other hand, will take your breath and potentially your life too. A 24-metre monster. But Rodrigo Coxa nailed it. The security guard just nailed himself.
Of course, we have a situation.
They certainly do. But the Aussies have a bigger one. It's called losing to both our men and women. Skipper Fio Fa'amusili leading our Black Ferns to victory with a hat-trick.
Oh, Fee, you're a hungus! Try number 3!
And have you ever seen a lock sell such a dummy?
Oh! Kidding me! You're kidding me!
No jokes here, people. Welcome back, Brodie Retallick. Bledisloe 1 in the bag.
And that ends Shukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Shukai Sports. Shukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Now looking at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight in the southern region, fine although cloudy in Port Moresby, Kerema and Alota, rain showers in Popondetta and mostly fine in Daru. In the Mamasa region, rain and, well, cloudy in Lae, well, a shower or two in Madang, few showers in Wewak and a shower or two in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, some rain, even though cloudy in Loringa, rainy and thunderstorms in Kavieng, showers, although cloudy in Kokopo and Rebal, a shower or two in Kimbe, and partly cloudy in Buka. And in the Highlands region, fine weather with some cloud in Mount Hagen, partly cloudy in Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi, and Wabag.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, here's a recap of tonight's main stories. CLRC chairman says citizens want electoral system reformed. Stakeholders meeting in Leh to review national youth policy. And locals in Western Highlands urged to register land. And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Monday, the 20th of August 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV news team across the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.